Their Satanic Majesties Request is the sixth British and eighth American studio album by the Rolling Stones, released on December 8, 1967 by Decca Records in the United Kingdom and the following day in the United States by London Records. Its title is a play on the Her Britannic Majesty requests and requires text that appears inside a British passport. Upon its initial release, the album drew mixed reviews from the critics as well as some mixed reactions within the group itself. In recent years, however, it has gained a cult following since it was the Rolling Stones' only overt outing into the psychedelic fad, and because of its lenticular cover. History, begun just after Between the Buttons had been released on January 20, 1967, the recording of their Satanic Majesties Request was long and sporadic, broken up by court appearances and jail terms. For the same reasons, the entire band was seldom present in the studio at one time. Further slowing productivity was the presence of the multiple guests that the band members had brought along. One of the more level-headed members of the band during this time, Bill Wyman, wary of psychedelic drugs, wrote the song In Another Land to parody the Stones' current goings-on. In a 2002 interview with Rolling Stone, Wyman described the situations in the studio. Every day at the studio it was a lottery as to who would turn up and what if any positive contribution they would make when they did. Keith would arrive with anything up to 10 people, Brian with another half a dozen, and it was the same for Mick. They were assorted girlfriends and friends. I hated it. Then again, so did Andrew, and just gave up on it. There were times when I wish I could have done too. Their producer and manager Andrew Loog Oldham, already fed up with the band's lack of focus, distanced himself from them following their drug bust and finally quit, leaving them without a producer. As a result, their Satanic Majesties Request was the Stones' only self-produced album, which Mick Jagger admitted was not for the best. There's a lot of rubbish on Satanic Majesties. Just too much time on our hands, too many drugs, no producer to tell us, enough already, thank you very much. Now can we just get on with this song? Anyone let loose in the studio will produce stuff like that. There was simply too much hanging around. It's like believing everything you do is great and not having any editing. According to Brian Jones, a month before the album's planned release date the group hadn't got anything put together. It's really like sort of got together chaos. Because we all panicked a little, even as soon as a month before the release date that we had planned. We really hadn't got anything put together. We had all these great things that we'd done, but we couldn't possibly put it out as an album. And so we just got them together, and did a little bit of editing here and there. Keith Richards himself has been critical of the album in later years. While he likes some of the songs, the album was a load of crap. The Stones experimented with many new instruments and sound effects during the sessions, including mellotron and shortwave radio static and string arrangements by John Paul Jones. In 1998, a bootleg box set of 8 CDs with outtakes of the Satanic sessions was released on the market. The box set shows the band developing the songs over multiple takes, and striking is the cooperation between Brian Jones, Richards and session pianist Nicky Hopkins. Richards is leading the sessions and most songs seem to be written by him, and both Hopkins and Jones indulge in creating elaborate soundscapes. The working title of the album was Cosmic Christmas. In the hidden coda titled Cosmic Christmas, Wyman tells it slow down, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Some of the album's songs were also recorded under various working titles, some appearing rather non-sequitur and radically different from the final titles. These working titles include, Acid in the Grass, I Want People to Know, Flowers in Your Bonnet, Fly My Kite, Toffee Apple, and Surprise Me. Release and reception, released in December 1967, their Satanic Majesties Request reached number 3 in the UK and number 2 in the US, but its commercial performance declined rapidly. It was soon viewed as a pretentious, poorly conceived attempt to outdo the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, often explained by drug trials and excesses in contemporary musical fashion, although John Lennon and Paul McCartney did provide backing vocals on Sing This All Together, and We Love You. The production, in particular, came in for harsh criticism from John Landor in the fifth issue of Rolling Stone, and Jimmy Miller was asked to produce the Stones' subsequent albums, on which they would return to the hard-driving blues that earned them fame early in their career. In an April 1968 album review, Richard Corliss of the New York Times was also critical of the production values, stating, "Their imagination seems to have dried up when it comes to some of the arrangements. While still better than their previous ones, the arrangements are often ragged, fashionably monotonous and off-key." Despite this, he gave the album an overall positive review, going as far as calling it a better concept album than of Cabbages and Kings, The Beat Goes On and even Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. In a 1970 Rolling Stone interview, Lennon commented on the album, "Satanic Majesties is Pepper. We love you. That's all you need is love." Richie Unterberger of AllMusic wrote, "Without a doubt, no Rolling Stones album and, indeed, very few rock albums from any era in a split critical opinion as much as the Rolling Stones' psychedelic outing. Many dismiss the record as sub-Sgt. Pepper posturing. Others confess, if only in private, to a fascination with the album's inventive arrangements, which incorporated some African rhythms, mellotrons, and full orchestration. Never before nor since did the Stones take so many chances in the studio." In 1968, the Stones would go back to the basics, and never wander down these paths again, making this all the more of a fascinating anomaly in the group's discography. The album was released in South Africa and the Philippines as the Stones Are Rolling because of the word satanic in the title. Starting with this release, non-compilation albums from the band would be released in uniform editions across international markets. The Wyman Composed in Another Land was released as a single, with the artist credit listed as Bill Wyman, rather than the Rolling Stones. Most album configurations contain the hidden track Cosmic Christmas following Sing This All Together. There are only 2 songs from the album which the Stones performed live, 2000 Light Years from Home, and She's a Rainbow. In August 2002, their Satanic Majesties Request was reissued in a new remastered CD, LP and DSD by Decca Records. In May 2011, the album was reissued on SHMSA CD. Packaging and design: one proposed cover photograph of Jagger naked on a cross was scrapped by the record company for being in bad taste. Initial releases of the album featured a 3-dimensional picture of the band on the cover by photographer Michael Cooper. When viewed in a certain way, the lenticular image shows the band members' faces turning towards each other with the exception of Jagger, whose hands appear crossed in front of him. Looking closely on its cover, one can see the faces of each of the 4 Beatles, reportedly a response to the Beatles' inclusion of a doll wearing a Welcome the Rolling Stones sweater on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. Later editions replaced the glued-on 3-dimensional image with a photograph, due to high production costs. A limited edition LP version in the 1980s reprinted the original 3D cover design. Immediately following the reissue, the master materials for reprinting the 3D cover were intentionally destroyed. The 3D album cover was featured, although shrunk down, for the Japanese SHM CD release in 2010. The original cover design called for the lenticular image to take up the entire front cover, but finding this to be prohibitively expensive, it was decided to reduce the size of the photo and surround it with the blue and white graphic design. The entire cover design is elaborate, with a dense photo collage filling most of the inside cover designed by Michael Cooper, and a painting by Tony Meyer-Vilwerfen on the back cover depicting the 4 elements. In some editions the blue and white wisps on the front cover are used in a red and white version on the paper inner sleeve. The inner cover collage had dozens of images, taken from reproductions of old master paintings, Indian mandalas and portraits, astronomy, flowers, world maps, etc. It was the first of 4 Stones albums to feature a novelty cover. The others were the zipper on Sticky Fingers, the cut-out faces on Some Girls, and the stickers on Undercover. The maze on the inside cover of the UK and US releases cannot be completed. A wall at about a half radius in from the lower left corner means one can never arrive at the "It's Here" in the center of the maze. Track listing: all songs written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, except where noted. Personnel: Chart positions, album, singles, certifications, cover versions and influences. 2000 Man was covered by Kiss for their 1979 album, Dynasty. Punk goth pioneers The Damned covered Citadel on their 1981 Friday the 13th EP. California's Reed Cross also covered Citadel on their 1984 Teen Babes from Monsanto EP. The Ohio punk band Sister Ray included Citadel in many of their live sets. Sheffield new wave band The Compsat Angels also covered Citadel for BBC and Dutch radio sessions, and released it as a bonus 12 to I'm Falling, and on their fifth album, 7 Day Weekend. The Yugoslav band Elektria Neorgasm covered the song Citadel in 1983 on their cover album Les Chansons Populaires. American neo-psychedelic band the Brian Jonestown Massacre paid tribute to the album with their fourth album Their Satanic Majesties Second Request. 2000 Man was featured prominently in Wes Anderson's 1996 debut Bottle Rocket. References. External links: Their Satanic Majesties Request at AllMusic, Brian Jones and Mick Jagger interviewed on the Pop Chronicles.